Let's do an experiment. My homemade L Reuteri yogurt, let's figure out, can I take a dormant probiotic in capsule form, put it into real ingredients, milk? Can I put it into real ingredients, ferment it, wake it up, and have live, active cultures that I'm putting into my mouth that I can have a true health benefit from, compared to a dormant, dehydrated probiotic capsule? Let's find out. Let's do an experiment. Let's figure out, are we actually able to ferment these modern, healthy probiotics in traditional ferments? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that there are a lot of people that are experimenting, and we're assuming and we're using like scientific deducting, but there are very few people out there that are actually saying, I'm going to contact a microbiology lab and I'm going to test this and I'm going to publicly publish the results for the whole public to see, so that we can have a once and for all official test results of this methodology, of this technique. Can you take a probiotic and amplify it in a fermentation medium? I want to stop assuming, and I want to be able to say, I have hard scientific fact on paper that yes, I successfully cultivated these probiotics in my home kitchen. Also, I'm well aware of the fact that there's a reason why this gap exists. Lab testing is hard, going through the administration of working with a company to actually measure, to pay the amount of money out of pocket to have this test actually done, just to, quote unquote, prove a point. I'm not a microbiologist in a lab, and I'm not this huge corporation. I'm a regular guy, and I want to make the tie between healthy fermented foods, or just even healthy probiotics, and bring it back to the people, the we. Can we do this? And not have it be behind this big corporation. A power of the people kind of project, if you will. And now, something interesting to mention is that when you go and you have a supplement, it needs to pass certain regulations within a laboratory to be able to be called, X probiotic, X supplement, etc. And then we also have the scientific lab results of just a regular French yogurt or sauerkraut or home fermented pickles. These two individual sections where we have the lab results of supplements and we have the lab results of home fermented foods, but we don't have the the combination of these two. We don't yet have public information. Can I ferment a probiotic into a ferment and amplify its CFUs and create a very rich, active, live cultured food? And so I'm assuming that you've guessed, but I've decided to put together a lab experiment of my homemade L Reuteri yogurt experiment. That is this one right here. And also, when you think about it, these are how we do studies. You take as much information as possible, you create a hypothesis, you kind of test it out for a little bit, and then when it seems ready, you send it off for confirmation in a real lab study. And so, maybe I'm not some big corporation, but, from my experience, working with fermentation, having real life experience making fermented foods, going to school and having education in microbiology and having education in nutrition and understanding metabolism, I've gathered the information and I've had feedback from the public. Does this work only in my kitchen? And I've had people reach out saying this worked perfectly, beautifully for me. And so I know that this is not just an isolated case. This is something that has worked for other people, and I love that. And so what I want to do is, now that we have gathered all of our little, we've gathered our information, we've done home experiments, we've troubleshooted, we've, asked the questions, and now I think we're ready to send it off to a lab to get a real concrete, paper result of this is what is actually in your fermented milk product. I want this to work. And I have put together this community of L Reuteri, and I know it's gonna sound really like silly, but like this feels like I've done this like huge school project where I've been like, okay, what is L Reuteri? Like a huge school report. L Reuteri has this kind of metabolism and it likes this temperature range and it likes, these types of like metabolite sugars to eat, and it doesn't eat this one, or it doesn't eat this metabolite, or what happens if you go for too long? And I've troubleshooted for long enough. I've put all of my things together, and I think I'm ready to hand in, and maybe this is just like me going back to my school days, but I'm ready to hand in my school report. I'm ready to hand it in and send it off for testing, and to be with bated breath, how is the teacher, the microbiology lab, how are they going to grade my work? How are they going to grade our work? Because, I've helped refine this recipe through your guys' feedback on my videos as well. And that is so important. So, side note, thank you very much for all of your feedback. I really appreciate it. And so it makes this a team effort. And so what I'm also here to say is, I don't know. I'm going to be really transparent about it. I don't know what the numbers are going to be, and I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm excited, but I'm excited, but I'm a little bit nervous. The best part about this is that whether the results come back positive or negative, it'll finally have us stop going back and forth with this like barrage of, but it's this, but it's that, or how do you know, and we'll finally have answers. And I think that having those answers will just put a lot of people at ease. And so because lab testing is rather expensive, especially for a group community passion project that we are doing, I decided to put together a fundraiser, and I contacted the lab, and they gave me a quote for 1,750 euros for me to make my ferment, my L Reuteri yogurt ferment, ship it to them, and then for them to do all of their testing, and then for the processing of the information, and then to send it back to me. And so if you would like to participate, I have linked the fundraiser details in the description below, and you can participate that way if you are invested in this project. And for those who are going to actively participate in this fundraiser, I will put together an insider scoop kind of community for me to give you the results as they come in real time. And if you prefer to not donate, and you absolutely don't need to, it is a choice for those who are interested. But if you don't want to, you will be able to see the results publicly after I get the information, film a video, edit the video, put together all the content, and then take the time necessary for me to make it public. The insiders will get the information maybe day of, and they'll just be on the inside getting the real-time bated breath, biting fingernails. What are the test results, and what do they actually say? Also, and now that I think about it, if after I put this video together and publish it, and we are already in the middle of the testing and the lab stuff has already been launched, and you would like to be part of the community, but you're maybe a little bit late, I'll put a product on my website where you can submit your name, and I'll add you to the community list. So no worries about that. This is not a, you're gonna miss a deadline deal. You can come late to class if you would like. And maybe it'll fund like a future project, such as like L Reuteri in the carrot juice and blueberry juice project, or once I have my base L Reuteri yogurt from my capsules, can I reproduce in second, third, fourth, fifth batches? Do I still get L Reuteri in subsequent batches? And so on and so forth. Or maybe we take a different type of probiotic and we troubleshoot that way, for example, and we'll do community voting and we'll figure out what maybe the project after this one is, but that we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And I think that no matter how these test results turn out, one thing it'll really, really help do, and something that I think that I'm almost the most excited about, is it'll stop the back and forth between the finger pointing of who's right, who's wrong, the assumptions made, is there actually any L reuteri in this specific recipe, and we'll finally get some answers and have the results be publicly published. And that all on its own, I'm excited about. In any case, the fundraiser has already been launched, and you can find that in the description below if you are so interested. And I want to really thank you from the bottom of my heart, everyone who has already donated, and I want to thank all of my future donors who are interested for making this passion project come to life. My name is Matthew Kress of Kress Dietetics, and I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.